Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of The Sovereign CEO. Mark Groves is back to talk about this really heavy week. Mark, thanks for coming on.
Man, is it ever a week? It's a week that I didn't expect to have, you
You
know?
didn't get your loving voice note yet. I sent some loving voice notes out, but I knew that you were going to be with me here today to talk about some things. I'm concerned about my friends in this space. I'm concerned for them in different ways. Not that I think something bad is about to happen to them, more in recognition that this is a historical moment, an MLK moment. And I don't think the world will be the same. And I think some bad things are about to happen along with some really good things, but it feels really intense right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think the assassination of Charlie Kirk is, it's obviously clearly a very tense cultural moment because just look at social media and it's amplifying what is already amplified. And, I was thinking about, man, life was good before 2019. It wasn't even that good. So I don't want to speak that it was amazing, but it feels like, because, we had cultural things that were challenging us, Me Too, BLM, all that kind of stuff. But then it seems like since the winter of 2020, that there has not been any foot off the accelerator in fear mongering in the media. And then that leading to even more and more, because political division really amplified, in my experience, in the United States in their 2015, 2016 election. I can't remember what year it was, 2016. And that was the first time that I ever really heard people really talk about, who did you vote for? Oh my God, I can't believe this. I knew that existed, but it was in such a greater
Mm-hmm.
quantity. And then since COVID, it feels like the accelerator has not come off, the fear bus and also the division and also the idea, because even the beliefs about COVID became very partisan. And then it was like everything became more partisan. And then you just felt this tension like a rubber band was about to break. And it feels like this is maybe furthering that.
I saw a video of this lady saying that it's so bizarre that truth has become partisan and
Yeah, I saw
truth
that
is
video too.
associated with the right right now,
Yeah.
which is a really polarizing statement to make, but that's very much what things feel like right now. I'm in agreement, at least in my experience, that this political polarization I only noticed at the start of COVID.
Same.
I didn't know a lot about politics. I was a liberal. I remember thinking, oh, my in laws vote conservative. They must be evil capitalists. I had
I
like
lived
that
in
thought,
Vancouver, so I'm not that dissimilar.
but I didn't
Yeah.
know anything about it. And I didn't talk about it and I didn't look into it or read
Me
about it
neither.
ever. I never watched the news. So yeah, just personally, this started in COVID. And then it seems like a lot of people started paying attention and yeah, we all got fried and split into two camps.
Yeah, and I've been reading a lot on this. There's a couple posts that went viral from, I want to say his name was Dr. Raymond Nichols, and he wrote some really good stuff, that you weren't meant to go from seeing someone assassinated to seeing a funny TikTok video to seeing we weren't meant to be exposed to that. And I have a friend who's a psychologist whose teenagers came home from school and they had they saw an assassination. The exposure that we get to all of this violence that just comes across our screen and we then become normalized to it. And I wonder if that numbing is actually desensitizes us to the empathy that's required to recognize how our words interact and how all that kind of stuff. Because we have gotten to a really, I would say, fragile, but also very eruptive and dangerous place
Mm-hmm.
that we've felt this really brewing. And I've felt this happening in Canada now. But, as we probably speak from a more minority in Canada, in that during COVID, I was just desperate for some politician in Canada, which there were a few, but a party to be like, this isn't okay. Or a bunch of, policymakers. Everyone, of course, was kicked out who did that. But I really found that there was not any representation of diverse thought. And it feels like that just continues to be exacerbated. And then, of course, the way that conservatism is framed in Canada is that it's Maple Mega. And so again, there's this attempt to just delegitimize any criticism of this ideology that exists on the left versus the right. And we're really living in two very different realities, yet we live in the same world. And that to me is the amplification of the algorithm.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to be real honest and real
Get
vulnerable here.
real honest. I like it.
I I know, and I'll get here. I know I want the tension to go down, and I know I want unity, and I know I want people to have dialogue. I don't feel that right now. I'm really angry and
Yeah.
a little bit scared, and it making me feel, yeah, like the darkest part of COVID all over again. I'll never forget when they were actually building detention centers,
Mm-hmm.
and Justin Trudeau went on TV and he said, "How long will we tolerate these people?"
Yeah.
The pit of darkness that I felt in that moment, where I thought, do I need to leave Canada? Like, do I need to smuggle myself out of this country?
I did smuggle myself.
You did. And then I was in a group chat with my then friends who are not my friends anymore. And someone said, because I had mentioned we shouldn't judge people for their medical decisions, she said, "I can't tolerate people like you." And I just felt this, like, I lost everybody during that time.
When you
This
needed
feels like
everybody.
that all over again. And I saw this beautiful post of this guy who's trying to bring everybody together, and he said, "Conservatives, say something nice about liberals." And it's beautiful what he's doing. And right now I'm like, no, I know I'll get there, and I love what he's doing, but right now I'm feeling the polarization and actually wanting to just sit in it and really feeling safety in my tribe,
Yeah, that
and
makes
feeling a
sense.
lot of danger from the other side right now.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, my inbox is filled with hundreds, if not thousands, of messages that I would say 30% are positive,
Oh,
and the
wow.
rest are actually from both political camps. I'd say there's definitely a leaning more to the left of rage that I have any compassion or belief that having a mission of dialogue and debate is actually something to really be respectful of. And there's from the other side, just that I've had openness to, I understand why people would not be happy with Charlie Kirk. Like, it makes sense. Like, I can understand that. And I can also understand why people really liked him and like what he stood
Mhm.
for, because he protected and honored their values. And so both worlds can coexist, but the problem is that we've been taught that if the other world exists, it's a threat to our world. And that can be very true now, right? Like, that feels that way. And so I hear you. I hear you, and I get it. Like, I have thought, I've sat in front of colleges and had hard conversations. I could take a bullet to the neck. Like, that's a
Yeah.
pretty, and it's not like you and I are, at least in my experience, saying anything polarizing. And here's my, I was saying this to a friend the other day. I am actually not concerned about having a diverse view. Now, this could be because I'm not a person of color. I get that. Like, proximity, this all makes sense so this is my experience. I'm not concerned about having a diverse perspective around people I know who vote conservative. In Canada, we're talking about Canada here. But I actually have a hard time in my nervous system trusting people who are more far left, like more liberal.
For
Because
sure.
most of the liberals I know that I lived in Vancouver near or whatever are actually now more centrist. Now they're going like, I don't know what's going on.
Mhm.
But some of them are really far over there. And I actually have a really hard time trusting them.
There's
And
a reason. Yeah.
yeah. And I don't, again, it's like, I want to actually, I just don't trust that if something happens in the world, I won't get put in a camp if I don't agree with it.
That's
And
right.
and I'm sure people feel that about the other side. But for me, readily, the policymakers and the governments that were in charge in Canada are liberal.
Both sides are scared of the other. Everybody not everybody. Lots of people on the left, for example, think that Trump and Elon are literal Nazis, literal fascists. But the things that they're scared of haven't actually happened. Whereas on this side, when you're looking at what the left has done, we have a much bigger body of evidence. First it started off with cancellation campaigns. If you don't say what you're supposed to say, and cancellation isn't unfollowing someone, it's we're going to ruin your life.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
going to
yeah. We're
dox
gonna
you.
get deplatform you, get your job taken away, and that has happened to a lot of people.
Yep. That happened. And then they realize, okay, well, if we can't cancel you, then we'll create laws that will jail you. That is happening right now. We're seeing like people in the UK and in Canada getting arrested now for social media posts. So just canceled, ruined your life, then put in prison. And now we
That's
have
fucking crazy.
murders. So I understand why people are afraid of Trump and don't like his policies. And I think, unfortunately,
100%.
a lot of that is based on fear mongering and things that haven't actually happened. We do have a much bigger body of evidence that the left is causing harm, really, really scary acts. Hey, gang, the last few years, they've been stressful. And stress isn't just an inconvenience, it's the silent killer of your focus, your health, and your freedom. And let's be honest, the system thrives on keeping you stressed and burnt out. When your nervous system is fried, you can't think clearly. You can't make good decisions. Your hormones go haywire, your sleep tanks, and your creativity disappears. And the worst part, most people are so used to being in survival mode that they think that that's normal. That's why I use Pulsetto. It's a breakthrough device that stimulates your vagus nerve, the key switch that shifts your body from stress mode into calm mode. Within just a few minutes a day, you can regulate your nervous system, reduce anxiety, and finally give your brain and body the reset that it's been craving. You can't build a freedom first business or life if your body's trapped in fight or flight. Pulsetto helps you get your edge back. Clearer thinking, deeper focus, better recovery so you can actually thrive, not just survive. Take back control of your health and stress response. Go to pulsetto.com today or use the link in the bio for my exclusive discount. Stop letting stress run the show. It's time to upgrade your nervous system.
I mean, I would definitely understand why someone doesn't like a lot of the dialogue or rhetoric that Donald Trump has. Like, I understand it. And I agree with you. I mean, I agree on a large level with what you're saying. I think it's really, I wonder, I don't think now is the cultural moment to do it, but I really wonder, how do we even begin to sit down and have a discussion when it feels like we're not even near the same tables? I feel like we could, like, I do feel like if anyone who's really liberal wants to come on and have a conversation, I think that would be great. But I really just wonder, my fear when I was saying like my fear of the far left is because my experience of people who identify as being very virtuous, I mean, the research shows this, that they tend to not actually be in integrity with the virtue they spew.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing is that they actually don't see their propensity for violence. Like, they don't see that the shadow side of identifying as really good is a really dark shadow too. And I was writing on Instagram, which this one did not cause as much angry pushback, just more shares, where I
Mm-hmm.
said the far left and the far right are the same. Like,
Yeah.
it's just that one is covert narcissism and the other one is overt narcissism. And so the covert side masquerades as goodness and protecting our safety. And the other side really wears its toxicity on its sleeve. It's quite explicit, it's obvious. And it's really hard to trust the people that don't believe, they trick you into thinking it's for good. And I think because of COVID, I really have. That's where all that language was really used, the shame-based language, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, nothing makes my head spin like when people use the word fascism. And literally every person that I've asked to define that word can't. They cannot define that word. And what they don't understand is that can happen on the left or the right. And when you actually define it, and very smart people like Andrew Coyne throwing it out there constantly, when they can't be self reflective to see where the top down institutional control is actually coming from, I'm like, what are you doing? Like all those young people protesting that think that they're the anti fascists. I see these videos all the time. Like, what is fascism? and you see them like, oh, well, I'm actually not
So
that
true.
political. I'm like, you're at an anti-fascist rally and you say you're an anti-fascist and you can't define the word? Pardon?
Yeah, that's funny. I think for a lot of, we just like get caught up in what our side is supposed to be against
Yes.
and what we're supposed to stand for. I wrote an article on this because I just found it so interesting that when a culture, or let's say social media as a environment, will come after you if you are not, like, if we now have a culture that really empowers victimization. And so the more victimizing you have, the more power you get. And
Mhm.
this is actually in the research when someone does a GoFundMe and one of the GoFundMe's talks about the story and the other one talks about the trauma gets more money. So this is just to show like how humans see people who identify as being through something as we automatically sort of give them a credit for being a good person. And this is a psychological thing. It's really fascinating. But I think what's happened is people have really leveraged this virtuosity so much that it's lost its value and people don't trust it because it's covert narcissism on some level.
Mhm.
But it's like the other side is that, as if you identify as having some sort of victimization, then you take yourself out of the crosshairs. And then if you write about it, you even get more out of the crosshairs in a culture that really has felt like it's seeking to just demolish anything that gets in the way of it not agreeing with the ideology, as you were saying before.
Mhm.
And so you see like someone like J.K. Rowling being such a good example of, she says, I don't believe that biological men should play in women's sports, et cetera, et cetera. And then is now like essentially, I can't imagine how many death threats J.K. Rowling has had. It's
Mhm.
probably in the thousands and thousands,
Mhm.
all for saying something that she has the right to say. And on like an objective level, I think is actually like, I could understand as a woman why you would not want biologically intact males in change rooms and in sports. That's not irrational in a world that still can hold on to the truth without trying to coddle feelings.
Mhm.
And I think because we've prioritized not hurting people's feelings, we've talked about this a bit before, then what happens is culturally we oscillate around the people who are most reactive. So the loudest, most reactive people dictate what we can talk about and what's okay and what's not. But that's like being in a relationship with someone and they constantly get defensive and angry, so you can't talk about anything. And I feel like it's been at that cultural point. And so maybe what Charlie Kirk represents, which I don't know, those the Jezebel things where they do like a conservative takes on 20 liberal students, and Charlie
Oh,
Kirk was in one of
yes.
those.
Yeah.
I saw they were talking to one of the founders of Jezebel, and one of the criticisms they get is that, why do you have so many conservative thought leaders and not liberal ones? And he said, and I saw the Instagram of this yesterday.
Because they
He said,
would lose.
well, he said, well, he said all the conservatives sign up. They're like, where do I go? He said,
Yeah.
but when we asked liberal ones, he said, this is hard for me to share. But he's like, or he said something like that. He's like, they're like, where can we get the questions ahead of time? And this really speaks to a lot of what I've witnessed in universities, which is that they want to have a debate, but the debate is between the far left and the middle left because they lean so much to the left.
Yeah.
I feel like we're at such a crazy cultural point that's really fascinating, but also scary to be part of.
When I helped run that We Unify event, it was the same thing. We tried to get all kinds of legacy media, leftist speakers. No one would come. And we're like, we just want to have some like really nice, actual, respectful debates. Will you come? No. And then what does the media do? Oh, look at it's a far right event. Look at all the far right speakers. I'm like, y'all got the invite. You didn't
But
want to
this is what
come.
creates that. This is what creates the sort of like extremism and I mean, in Canada, we really have such a challenge because the echo chamber of mainstream media is feeding just that rhetoric.
Yes. I just did a whole video on this. The mainstream media has blood on their hands. So CBC, they platformed Barbara Perry, who I phoned today, by the way, left her a very long voice machine message. She's a hate expert who's never provided any kind of actual proof of her work, identifying over 300 different hate groups. Um, it's very erroneous. And she was on CBC, platformed on our state funded media, saying Charlie Kirk asked for the execution of gay people. I have never seen that video. I can't
Did you
say
chat
for
GBT it?
yeah, I did.
Yeah. Nothing.
I've seen hundreds of videos of him engaging with gay people. Also, Stephen King, who has over 7 million, I won't pull it
Yeah.
up right now, over 7 million followers. He said the same thing on X, that Charlie Kirk, let me see if I can pull it up, that Charlie Kirk has asked for the execution,
The stoning, right?
the stoning of gay people. And he actually was lambasted so bad, he was forced to come out with the truth about what Charlie Kirk actually said. I'll see if I can pull up the quote, but in summary, Charlie said that I don't agree with this lifestyle, but I would fight for anyone's freedom to speak, to live their life the way that they want, to be within the Conservative Party. They are welcome. They will be loved. He has never, ever said anything violent or hateful like that. Yet these huge influencers and government funded media will say these flat out lies about the man,
Yeah.
and
And
then
you always
millions of
remember
people
the lie.
listen. Yeah, it's the
Right.
damage is already done. Even though Stephen King has now put up a very pathetic apology, yeah, the damage is done, and 40 million Canadians already heard it and are going to roll with that artificial truth.
You know, I have been kind of stuck in this space where I think, is Canada worth fighting for? Like, Canada feels like there is not a lot, and maybe that's the we become the media because we have to create an alternate channel. You know, my friend who does inherited trauma, he said whenever you bury something, it just reroutes and gets stronger. Like,
Mhm.
humans will always find a way, and systems will always find a way biologically, right?
Mhm.
Always. And so nothing is free. Nothing doesn't. It's like I was actually talking to a bunch of guys in my hockey change room. This is different, but it would be kind of funny to hear. Is one of the guys was talking about how you can get a prostate drug prescription for hair loss.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? When I was a pharma rep, one of the GPs who had hair loss wrote me. I was 27. I came in. He was a funny guy. He's since passed. He was such a good human. But I walked in and he was such a fucker. He says to me, "Hey, Groves, I wrote you a prescription for this drug." And he puts the prescription on my chest. He puts the paper and it's for this hair loss drug. And I was like, "What's this?" He's like, "Your hair's falling out. You need this." He was funny. And I was saying to the guys in the hockey change room last night, I was like, there's nothing is free. Like, when I
Mm.
took that drug for 2 years, I was like, I remember eventually realizing like my own vanity is going to cost me some sort of biological system, because if you do one thing here, something happens here.
Mhm.
And I think about that with this. That's a big analogy for the media. So the media needs hair loss drugs, but we need to build something different. And I know this is part of that. But to me, I'm like, there's so many people who are leaving Canada. There's so many investment dollars that are leaving Canada. And that terrifies me. Canada is not a tax friendly place. It's not a small business friendly place.
Mhm.
We just got the information that Mark Carney's no pipelines coming. So, you know, I have friends who work very high up at pipeline companies, oil and gas companies, and they're like, "Oh, we're just investing in the States now." And I'm
Yeah.
like, what are we going to become? Just this climate friendly country that has no economy anymore? Like, it's just like, do we just start? Is there a way for Canadians to make it so the government has to do something other than driving a bunch of trucks to Ottawa? Like, is there an actual political path
I
to
mean, if
make an
people
investigation
experience
happen
enough
about anything?
pain, we will get there. And I'm surprised we haven't hit that point already. I thought we were already there, but I think a lot of people just need to experience more pain before they actually make the government do something different.
Is there a way for like a group of Canadians to actually cause some sort of accountability? Like, can this be a triggering event to like, okay, enough is enough. Like, this government that we currently have isn't really representing us other than revolution.
I'm ready for it. I have been personally radicalized by this event more than I already was. More than I already was. I mean, we would have to get rid of the media first, and that's my personal mission, to bring them down. I am just disgusted daily by what I see. So even with this event taking place, they didn't wait 10. And the immediate things that they said about the death of this man was not like, oh, a father was just murdered. How horrible. Maybe we can drop the temperature down. None of that. Trump's ally, controversial character. That's what they
Yeah.
went to immediately. And I was watching this one story where they were, they were talking about, well, he was close to Trump, and look, Trump's lowering the flags for him. I was like, motherfucker, that's beautiful. Who cares what you think about Trump? The president of the United States is honoring someone that was slain by lowering the flags. That's beautiful. And I thought Trump's speech about him was beautiful.
And what about all the Democratic former presidents and significant people who posted about him and shared? Like Barack Obama was like condolences to. I saw that Maria Shriver she's a Kennedy. She
Mhm.
posted about it. Like violence is never okay, regardless of your politics. Like, and then Mark Carney only came out because he was criticized for not saying anything. I don't know. I understand like the anger that comes from this, and I'm like, how do we direct it? How do we direct it at taking our country back? And really actually having this country representative, because look, like all families always have diverse views, all cultures always have diverse views. That's just the nature of humans. But social media has really created this idea that there's only two views and there's two parties and there's two blah blah blah, and it's like the world is so much more complex than that. People in power benefit us from us being myopic in how we see the world.
Mhm.
And our the problem in Canada is our media is very myopic in its delivery of perspective. That's why so many people have left CBC, and quit and criticized it. But why do they keep getting our money? As a taxpayer, I want to put on a check thing. You don't get my money. Give it to independent media.
But the my personal belief is like the pain inflicted on each side, it's not even. So both sides might argue and both sides might sling arrows back and forth, but the media is captured by the left. And even these figures that are going out and saying violence is not condoned. We don't condone violence. All I can see, like with Barack Obama and Bernie Sanders, is, well, you probably shouldn't have been calling them fascists the whole time.
Yeah, I agree
Because
that like
when
this is a
you did
product
that,
of the language we use.
yes, you dehumanized them. You told people that you were fighting literal Nazis. So in the episode I uploaded yesterday, it was a whole piece from MSNBC. The banner underneath Trump's rally said Nazi rally.
The one that's comparing it to the 1930s, right?
So to all these
In
people,
Madison Square Garden.
yeah. And then
Yeah.
to all these people, for them to then say, we got to take the temperature down. We don't condone violence. I'm like, you did condone violence. You promoted it. You pushed it. You radicalized your audience. Now we have nutbags thinking that they're fighting actual Nazis and murdering
Yeah.
people. So I
Yeah.
think it's a very high and mighty position to take, and it has me reflecting on my own content that I put out there. It's one thing to criticize policy. Are you using language that is going to create violence? You can disagree with people. You don't have to believe in what they believe in. But when you start dehumanizing like that, know that that can cause people to murder.
That's the path. Like Brene Brown talks about how dehumanization always begins with language, because you start to other the person and then you remove them out of being like you, and then you open up your unconscious to being violent towards them. So you're
Yeah.
right. And I think that's true. It's like, how do we operate language in a way that both stands in the truth of how we feel, but also leaves openness and curiosity and some sense of bridge to other people. It doesn't mean you can't, and we can't, I can't hold views. It's that, am I actually open to the influence of others? Because all successful relationships, they have to be open to the influence of other to even be successful. And I think we're at a time when we don't even want to hear what you have to say. The answer is remove your ability to say anything. And that's both with guns and with deplatforming. And that's a really
Mhm.
scary, you're right, that's extremism that's created by all these small moments. And then they operate from, we would never, we're just in service of safety and goodness and everyone having equal rights. It's like, wow. But this, I think, will be used to advance more of the gun regulations and more speech regulation. I mean, it's such a playbook that just continues to unfold. And man, they've had their foot on the accelerator hardcore since 2019.
Well, and it's just really getting more and more challenging to take the high road. So, during COVID, I thought, oh, when the convoy happened and everyone goes to peacefully protest, they'll have a conversation and then all of this will drop. What happened instead? Pepper sprayed in the face, beaten with horses, jailed for possibly 8 years.
Deep
So
banks, debanked.
debanked. This is what, if you really are a hardcore leftist right now and you really believe that you are fighting fascists, what you really don't understand is what you're doing right now is going to birth the actual far right. You will birth the actual far right. And I'm scared of that. And then
Yeah, I
you
am
will
too.
realize that Charlie Kirk and even Trump, the people that are asking for budgets and small government and traditional family values and live and let live, oops, actually, those guys are pretty harmless and they actually weren't the far right. This is what's going to happen if we keep going down this path, because the extremes exist on both ends. I don't believe Charlie Kirk or Trump is far right. Not
Yeah, and
not
let's take like an idea, like one form of debate that people would have: pro-life versus pro-choice, right?
Mhm.
And that's probably where a lot of people would identify like far right would be evangelical. Under no circumstances is choice available, right? Like that would be on the far end of the extreme. Would that be fair? And then on the other far end would be like choice always, no matter what. Okay.
Yeah.
And these people live in the opposite ends of the world, not geographically, but I just mean ideologically. And in order to coexist, they have to decide on some level where life begins and where it ends, and also when is it justified. But if they don't have a dialogue, then the only answer is get rid of the other person because they threaten my perspective.
Yeah, I love this argument actually because Trump did the closest solution possible that you could for these two groups of people that are on polar opposites. Trump doesn't care about abortion one way or the other. He is not a religious man. He's a businessman. He doesn't even want to talk about this. So what did he do? He took power away from the federal government and he gave it back to the states because it was such a 50-50 divided issue. And he said, leave it up to the state. So did that mean that abortion is not easily accessible in some states? Yes. But do you know what he actually did? He protected abortion because now a new president can't come in and at the federal level say, no one can have this. So Trump actually protected abortion under the system, and it actually is 50-50 now. Yes, that means that you might have to move or go to another state, which people don't like. But there was this other option that people aren't looking at where a new president can come in and take it away from everybody. And he actually prevented that.
Yeah, and I have a friend whose wife was pregnant and it was a very risk, like her health was at risk.
Mhm.
And in order to get an abortion, which would have been medically necessary, they did have to drive over state lines to get it. And
Mhm.
I remember when he was telling me that, he was very upset,
Mhm.
because he's like, why can't I just get this in my home? Like, it makes sense. It's medically necessary. And I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, I get that. Like that. So
Yeah.
there's like that other side where we just have to have space to be like, okay, that would make sense. So how do we create more caveats so both people are happy? But that's the thing, is some people on those ends will never be happy. And that's
Of
what I
course.
was thinking the other day. Like, it doesn't matter how nuanced I can be, or how, if I take a position that creates some understanding, is
Mhm.
there are people who are committed to misunderstanding. And I've just started to realize that those just aren't my people. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not speaking to them. They're the ones in my inbox who are calling me all sorts of names. They're the ones in my comment section who are calling me white, privileged, all these things without actually talking about what I might be saying. It's more just about what I
Yeah.
look like and my that I'm a cis.
If you are tired of watching your hard earned money melt in the hands of big banks and corrupt governments, let's be real, your dollar is not worth what it used to be. Inflation, reckless spending, and a broken system are destroying the value of your cash. You can work harder, you can make more money, But if you're holding it in fiat, you're losing ground every single day. P.S. Check out the latest episode that I did with Pitar Pejovic. We talk all about this in depth, but this is why I trust Silver Gold Bull. They're a Canadian company. They make it super simple and secure to move your money into real assets, physical gold and silver that you can actually hold in your hands, not just promises on a screen, not numbers that a politician can erase, real wealth that's actually yours. So if you're serious about serenity and about protecting your family, about building something that lasts outside the system, metals are the move. And Silver Gold Bull is the most trusted source in North America. Discreet shipping, insured delivery, and the peace of mind that comes from knowing your wealth is protected. Don't wait until the system crashes to realize that you should have protected yourself. Go to silvergoldbull.com today and start stacking. Freedom is built on assets that they can't print. Head on over to the show notes for my code and tell Graham that Carla Treadway sent you.
Gender male, like
Are they
I should.
assuming? Are they assuming your race
They
and gender? How dare they? They don't
I know,
know.
could be a biological female. That stuff just makes me just go like, oh, there's actually, but there are actually far more people. They just don't comment as much, who are actually committed to wanting to understand one another. And I
Yeah.
think we're getting away from actually empowering that group, because those are the centrists that feel abandoned. Those are the left liberal people that now are conservative. Because, when people are saying to me, well, the left and the right are not the same. And I'm like, no, but they are. Like the people I know who are somewhat left or somewhat right, they're actually not that different. They're really understanding, caring, thoughtful people. And to me, that's like 95% of the population.
100%. I do the old guy test all the time when I'm in like the grocery store and I see like a little old man. I always tell myself, I'm like, he's probably a liberal and is not super political. And like, look how nice he is. Like, I want you
Right.
to like remember this guy who has no idea what bills are going on. And he like probably votes liberal because it was okay back then. I always try and bring him to mind instead of always bringing to mind the blue haired person with the nose ring that's like super intense.
That identifies as he, she, they. And that's so rare. It's just that they're the loudest, right? Like on both
Yeah.
sides, the like extremes are always the loudest. And then, like I just wonder, how do you create the spaces where it's almost like the adults can have a conversation, because the rest is so reactive.
I mean, I can do that when people are just talking and slinging mean words. I can do that. I can handle that space. I can't take the high road when people are trying to censor me, jail me,
Yeah, I
shoot
agree
me.
with that. Well, the response to being censored has to be more speech, you know?
Mhm.
And the response to potentially, like the fact that you could get debanked for your political view in Canada, that you donated to what was at the time also legal, but also their policy found to be illegal, the use of the Emergencies Act. But the
Mhm.
problem with Canada is none of these things has had consequences to the people who use these policies incorrectly. So what that
Mhm.
just says to politicians is, if you get it wrong, it won't matter. Don't worry about all the people you harm and the division you create. Like Justin
Mhm.
Trudeau can go on a political campaign and say and run completely on a wedge topic and division, where the science doesn't support his perspective, but he's so loud and he's got all the microphones that it doesn't matter. And then he could sit on a French show and call people misogynistic, racist, and anti-science. And what do we do with these people? Do we tolerate them? Like, that's hate speech. Like, that's the definition. And I just think, like, where's the accountability? Where's the
Mhm.
accountability for the violation of informed consent? Because all of that leads to this.
I know. Like watching again CBC and them say, "Well, we don't really like that Trump is calling out the left." All I can think is, "Well, you know what? I really don't like it when you guys are freezing bank accounts and shooting at us."
Right?
Like that is
Yeah.
such a divisive thing to say, and that's what's actually happening. Oh, your feelings are hurt? I'm mad that people are dying and being murdered right now. We're not the same.
And of course, the counter argument to that would be that people are being murdered on the left too, which is true.
You know, there's an excellent episode of Trigonometry with
That's a
Abigail
great podcast.
Schreier, and she's talking about extremism. And she is doing her very best job to talk about the extremes on either side and how this can happen on either side. And then she starts going through these manias in society. And she said the trans thing, BLM, COVID, and Constantine is like, yes, I hear what you're saying, that it's can happen on either side, but all of these things, the riots, the violence, these extreme movements, they're all on the left. So how do we get to this thought of, yes, we are equally vulnerable, we are equally responsible, when all of the things we're witnessing right now, these extremes, are predominantly happening on the left?
I totally agree. And you have to name it, because we have to name that both ends, but the part that on the left often don't see that they're capable of violence. Like they don't think, and that's what makes them capable of violence. That's actually though,
Mm-hmm.
I always think this, like if you don't believe you can be captured ideologically, that's what actually makes you able to be captured. Because I was telling you, I was watching a video the other day and I was like, oh, if you watched these types of videos over and over again, you would become racist. Like I was like, I could see how
Mm-hmm.
the energy of it, the emotion of it was geared to create that. But I'm mindful of that. I think about the things that make me feel certain ways and how I want to exist in the world. But if the
Yep.
mainstream media is only pumping one perspective in Canada, then you don't even know you're getting there, because that's all you're seeing, which would be true if you were watching extreme right television. Same thing. But it's just that we're
Yep.
not talking about it. It's not a mainstream conversation that this can happen on the left.
You're right. I would be lying if I didn't have a thought about Justin Trudeau that was negative. And I'm not going to say what that thought is because I don't want to get arrested, but I would be lying if I didn't have a negative thought about him. Now, that's very different from me posting it or encouraging it. And I think why I'm deeply disturbed right now is seeing like Blue Sky, that app is lit up with people saying, who do we kill now?
Oh yeah, I
Joe
heard they had like a
Rogan.
next list. Yeah.
Yeah, Joe Rogan, Megan Kelly. I mean, I hope my name's not on the list, but they're naming names and applauding and celebrating. And I've seen a ton of TikTok videos celebrating this man's murder. Again, this is disproportionately happening on the left.
Do you think though, like I forget what percentage of accounts on the internet are actually just AI bots?
Mm-hmm. That's true as well.
So I
Well,
just wonder, like, is all this just being, is that where like the Soros and all the, like that billions of dollars are being funded into these things to make us get that mad?
that is
Like,
true. And also the U of T professor, the U of Vic professor,
right.
CBC and Barbara Perry and Stephen King, and these very real people right now, they are not bots.
I totally agree. I just wonder if what made them make statements like that is this constant rhetoric. Because before, an extremist might be someone you never really witness, right? Like it's not in community. They're not professors generally, but now they're professors. Like now they're, you experience this in school, that people get radicalized through school, if you're going to talk about one ideology in a school, talk about the other. But no, what's in the curriculum is in the curriculum, and
Mhm.
it doesn't tend to be diverse views. That's why I think we're watching universities die, we're watching traditional education die, we're
Mhm.
watching, I mean, people are not connected to some sort of source that's greater than them. And so if you look at like this movement towards Christianity and God, but it could be any form of religion, spiritual connection, spiritual experience, I just see like we're watching the death of these systems that, I mean, like school was created for industrialization. Like, well,
Mm.
people worked at factories, their kids went to school and they became little perfect agents. And I was talking to a friend whose kids are graduating from high school. One's in grade 10 and one's in grade 12. I was talking to her yesterday and she said, they're not even sure they're going to go to university because, like, if they go get a degree, they could get a job that doesn't exist in 2 years because of AI. And I'm like, whoa, what an existential crisis.
Yeah, you asked how do we come down from this and how do we build bridges? I think we're in the fourth turning. I don't know if we can pull back from this. I think the way we pull back from this is the conflict gets worse and people
Well,
experience more pain.
let's try Like, let's just try this. What would, because we're in the height of it, right? Like, it just happened 2 days ago.
Yeah.
So, like, we're in the emotional, like, we're still in the wound. The wound is real raw.
Mm-hmm.
So, what would it take you to acknowledge your anger and to bring you back to a negotiating table?
Like, what would it take to calm me down?
Yeah. And for you to be like, you know what? I actually want to build a bridge. Okay. Like, what would you need to hear or know that would do that for you? Might not be available to you right now, but I'm like just really curious.
I need the truth.
What's
So,
the truth?
seeing Stephen King admit that he made a mistake, I'm like, okay,
That was good. You liked that.
I need truth. So the thing that will radicalize me is when the lies continue.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That
Do
that
you think that the lies are meant to do that to you?
yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's where I think about it. Like, imagine if the very demonic force is the lie.
Mhm. When this was happening and I watched Russell Brand's podcast and he prayed with who was Rick Rubin. He prayed with Rick Rubin and I thought this is the right response.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
This is the right response. And he prayed and he said, like, Lord, let us know what we're supposed to know about this situation. Like, what do we need to know?
What's
What's
a
the
prayer
reason
we
for
could
this?
do? What's a prayer you could do that could access your heart, open it again?
Mhm.
Because otherwise, the predatory demonic force wins.
Right. And this is where my head does go because this is what I wanted to talk about as well. While I've seen this terrifying response from legacy media
Hmm.
all day today and yesterday, I have also seen something else. And I have seen a ton of videos of vigils and prayers for Charlie Kirk. I think it's amazing what Trump is
Yeah.
doing for Charlie, regardless of what people think of Trump. I have seen so many TikTok videos of people saying that they are done with the Democrat Party and not necessarily switching sides, but making this public outcry to say that this is not okay and I don't want to be associated with this label. And they're proving a point. I'm also seeing lots of people say, I have 0 followers on social media and I have never talked about these things publicly and I am a Christian or I am a conservative and I'm going to make a video for the first time and this has inspired me. And this is what I said to you in the beginning. It all just feels very intense because there's a lot of really bad things happening, but I'm also excited about this new path that's also opening up where people are feeling brave and inspired to use their voice. Seeing Charlie Kirk get shot doesn't make me fearful. It makes me want to do more of what I'm doing. And I know that 10,000 Charlie Kirks are going to be birthed from this experience. And I know that God is using this experience to, one, bring more people to faith and bring more people to Him. But this doesn't die with Charlie. This is going to cause something in people, good and bad. But I
Well,
see a lot of.
let's go to that, which is
Mhm,
like if everything that occurs is in service of our evolution,
mhm,
right? Then how can we use this moment to open our own selves up? Because if you and I close off and people listening to this close off, then we're just further where we don't want to be. Like
mhm.
that's not a group of people that can bring about ideological revolution. That's
Yeah.
just more wings.
Yeah.
But there's I agree with you that there's like a third coming, which I don't mean that in a Christian sense, but there's like a third space that is
Mhm,
rising that wants nothing to do with the both wings of the bird. They want to be the
mhm.
bird. So I'm like, what is a prayer that you can share that can at least soften our hearts?
I mean, blessed are the peacemakers. So that post that I saw where the man was like, conservatives say something nice about liberals. I did not participate, but I did read one. I read the top one and it
What
said,
was it?
sometimes your hair colors are actually kind of cool.
Well, here, I'll say one. I know a lot of really good people who have really positive intent. Now, we could argue
Mhm.
that positive, everyone thinks they're doing positive when they do bad. But
Yeah.
I actually know like There are some really good people who have really positive intent who are liberal. They might not be politically liberal in its current definition, but they are liberal
Mm-hmm.
people. They want equity, they want social services. They
Mm-hmm.
also believe in fiscal conservatism. So, there's like,
Mm-hmm.
I really appreciate that. There are people who really care about unity and balancing it with sovereignty. And that's the health of every relationship, country, culture, family.
Mm-hmm. I'm always open to that. Always. I'm always open to having a conversation with people. I don't start the fight. And if someone wants to have a conversation, I'm always open. Always.
I think that your self expression you've experienced being unfairly quoted, framed, targeted. And so I get that. I get that and mine too, same as happened for me. It's like I have something in my being that if justice is not served, then I'm that's why I really think, like, do I just leave and move out of Canada? And I'm just like, good luck.
Yeah.
Or do I actually participate in the service of justice from like a systemic and movement based way? Don't worry,
Mm-hmm.
CSIS. I'm not planning anything else. I'm like, actually, like, how do we have more conversations? And I was really thinking about this. Is the answer to carry on that form of legacy to go to universities and have conversations with young people, to
Yes.
sit in squares and be like, all right, let's roll up our sleeves and do this.
This is what I love so much about Charlie Kirk and why I think everyone needs to get on board with this idea. You don't have to like Charlie Kirk's ideas. You can be against his faith, his ideas, his beliefs, but the way he did it was right. He went face to
Yeah.
face. And I've watched a lot of videos. I'm going to watch a whole lot more in the next few weeks to come. He was doing things the right way. And even if he disagreed with people, disagreeing with someone and not believing what they believe is not hate. And that's what we're seeing. Oh, he's hateful because he doesn't believe that a man can become a woman. That's hateful. No, it's not. He does not have to believe what you believe, just like you don't need to believe in his God. That's not hateful. We can't force people to believe what we believe. And that's the real struggle.
I hope that as part of his legacy is that people who have any perspective set up a tent and a microphone, two microphones, and instead of preaching, they dialogue. Preaching's fine, but I just mean, like, why not everybody, no matter your perspective, if you hated him, still go get two microphones, set down two chairs, and listen. And if that's the legacy he leaves, is that like, wow, we obviously desperately need more speech, because even in him setting those things up, he got assassinated.
Yeah.
And it's pretty hard to kill everybody doing that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I really hope that that is the movement that is born from this. That would be really, really beautiful.
Do you know who's already setting up a table? I can't remember her last name, Chloe, the detransitioner that was
Oh,
on Jordan
yeah.
Peterson. She's already
Yeah.
setting up tables at college campuses.
Wow. Yeah. Coming to a college campus near you.
Hmm. Yeah, and if we if we can't bring the temperature down, then what? Then what? I actually
I don't
take
think it's optional.
I actually take comfort in the idea of the fourth turning.
Is
It's
that a religious
scary.
thing? The fourth turning?
No, no.
What
The
is it?
fourth turning is this, it's looking at historical trends, how society gets comfortable and then tensions rise. And then we get to an inflection point, a boiling point, and the only way out is war, conflict. And when that happens, we go back to the beginning and realize, oh, community matters. These simple little things matter. Our family matters. And then it starts bubbling up again. Humans keep going through these cycles like clockwork of comfortability, conflict, inflection point. We do it all over again. And that's just our nature when we can't stop doing it. So when I think about tensions bubbling, I think that's just part of the cycle. And on the other side of this, we get to start over.
Yeah, there's a post I saw from Joe Nucci, who's a psychotherapist. He's really good. And he was talking yesterday about a study that showed that he's doing a reaction video to someone saying, if you think that history has never been resolved, like if there's any other choice other than violence, then you're wrong. You need to study history. And Joe Nucci's great. And he was like, actually not true. If you look at history, the peaceful movements actually have more success in changing ideology and policy. Both are obviously effective, but the long-term effects of peaceful revolution are actually, they're more effective too. And so I wonder, how do we do that? Now, of course, the friction to that is that words have been framed as violence, but we have to be willing to speak words, which I really acknowledge you for, in order and face that, you know, as you were saying, like, why is truth considered a right-wing concept?
Mm-hmm.
But how about if we just frame truth without even partisaning it, you know, that
Mm-hmm.
it's like recognizing that there is a movement that needs to be born here, and we need to get it together and actually bring about significant change. The US has its own can of worms, obviously, but how do we do that in Canada? That's what I'm interested in.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I know I try, and I know I mess it up a lot too. I get angry, make a satire reel here and there.
Those are so good, though. I do appreciate when you turn it into humor. Levity is the only way, like the, hi, I'm Canadian. Those videos are so good.
Man, we have to. Yeah, I don't know. I know I need to be in my feels a little bit this week. But what I would love for the listeners or the people on social media, um, I would love for them to not be frightened when it comes to conversations. And you, just because you're going to go about it in a kind way, in a respectful way, it doesn't mean that the other person will respond well to it. Do it anyways. And if you're speaking out for the first time, expect trolls, DMs,
Oh, yeah.
angry stuff like that. Expect that it'll happen. I'm actually surprised that that was your experience, but my experience of doing this now steadily for 5 years, I get zero hate. I never. People expect this from me. People know where I stand. I get zero hate because I
I
talk
think
about
it's
the
because
things where we
Create the Love, that platform was always about relationships. And all of a sudden I'm like, hey, uh, hello,
don't
I
get
got a few things
vaccinated.
to say. Yeah. Uh, at Smart Groves, I definitely get much less. So on Create the Love, there's definitely many more liberal people, which I actually appreciate because I do actually get some really thoughtful DMs
Hmm.
that make me think about things differently and consider my language so that I can reach someone who's there. And I, in doing that, have to lean. And so I actually really appreciate that. I don't read it all because sometimes I get some real doozies. And
Yeah.
my nervous system doesn't have the capacity to hold all of it. I know that now. I've actually really been thinking that why do I feel better about YouTube, even though YouTube is obviously filled with all sorts of fuckery,
Hmm.
lots of trolls, lots of bot accounts. But I think it's because Instagram has DMs. I
They
think
have
because,
access. Yeah.
yeah, like even though it's not real access, like you could just never read it, never, there
Hmm.
is something different about that. Like a comment on a video, you could just be like block, restrict, whatever. But like Instagram, there's something more accessible about it.
Hmm. Hmm. I feel
And
that.
it's just like a swarm too, you know, they like pile on each other. There's so much trauma bonding going on in every area that you realize, like, energetically. I have to send you, we should put it in the show notes, but there's a podcast episode I listened to from The Emerald. The Emerald is a really brilliantly produced podcast. And there's an episode called Guardians and Protectors.
I listened
And
to that. Yeah.
did you listen to the
Yeah.
meditation about like what we bring in through our eyes? I have not watched the actual assassination because someone told me about it and was like, don't bother watching it. I've
Hmm.
seen like pictures, but that's it. But I saw the thing on the train in New York, which was sad. I saw the school shooting information, obviously, everything about Gaza and Israel. And I'm just like, I do that meditation now almost every day, like
Hmm.
cleanse my eyes. Because I just realized like how much the nervous system was not meant to bring in that imagery all the time.
No.
That fly has been fucking with you this whole time. I
This
see that
whole
fly.
time. At
He's
least
on
he's
your
not on
arm
my
right now.
forehead right now. I'm happy that he's just on my arm.
That is a liberal fly just bothering you. It's progressive. It's just, it's been subcontracted to just annoy you.
Oh, man. Yeah, the meditation is great. I also like to think that anyone that disagrees with me in the DMs is a bot. I'm like, you're a bot. You're from Russia.
If they are private and they put nothing on the line themselves, I almost never entertain them.
No,
But
no.
sometimes I get really thoughtful messages from thoughtful people,
Yes.
who are seeking to understand my perspective more, who don't like what I said, but they want to understand.
Yeah.
They're pretty
I've
good
actually
generally.
turned someone. I've turned someone in the DMs.
Nice.
They cut me down and I tore them a new one with facts. Not even lovingly. I just tore them a new one with facts. And they actually went, "Oh my God, you're right. I'm so sorry." And then they became a super fan and started sending me like loving messages every day for a while.
Wow, that's nice.
Yeah, that was really cool.
We need more bots like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want a bot like that. Thanks for having me on. I know it's a culturally tense time, and for
Thanks
everyone
for coming.
listening, thanks for listening to us.
I really appreciate you guys listening. Sometimes there aren't clear actions, next steps, solutions, but I think everybody, left or right, the only thing that we really can do is focus on ourselves. How do you want to be in this world? That's all we can do. We can only control ourselves. So I wish you well. If you're also struggling in this moment, I feel you, I see you. And I think a lot of good is going to be birthed from this event. Let's just keep our eyes on that. If you like what we do here over on the Sovereign CEO podcast, please consider hitting that subscribe button or sharing this episode with a friend. It helps us a lot. And if you feel so inclined, you can head on over to our Substack. The link will be in the bio, where you can get bonus material. You can choose to support us financially or subscribe for free. And I'll see you guys here for another episode soon. Goodbye for now.